Okay, it's time to reassemble the 9mm C9 by High Point. We've got the gun all cleaned, ready to go back together. First thing that we're going to start with is the trigger. The trigger installs on the right-hand side of the frame. There's a cutout for the trigger right here. It just fits into the frame, and the hinge pin on top of the trigger lines up with this hole right here. There's a pin that's purposefully bent on the end. Drive that into the trigger hole, and with our hammer, drive that into the frame, making sure that it's flush on both sides. Take and fold the trigger lever down and make sure that the trigger hinges freely. With that done, we can go ahead and install our barrel. Barrel is just going to fit right into the frame. We'll start out with the pin on the front to anchor the barrel down to the frame. It just goes in and it sits flush on the frame. At this point, we want to install our hold open pin along with the hold open cam. That's going to install in this hole right here. Now the cam has got a small tang on it that we want protruding through this slot right here in the frame. That tang is going to contact the follower in the magazine in order to hold the weapon open, or hold the slide open on the last round, or when we go to lock the slide back. When you drive this pin in, if you drive it in too far, the cam is going to bind like it is right now. Can't have that, so we're going to have to drive this back out just a little bit. Not much though, because once we get it to where the cam, the hold open cam, operates freely, we want to take our slide and test it so that the slide operates freely. We don't want any bind in this area right here because the pin hasn't been driven far enough in. But you have to also strike that balance to where the cam will float freely. With that said and done, we'll go ahead and we'll reinstall the magazine catch on the right-hand side of the frame. Holding it in place, we're going to take the magazine catch spring that will mount to the hold open and on that detent right below the magazine catch. It's properly installed right there. So now the spring will draw it down rather than gravity. Take the magazine button, install it directly on top of the magazine assembly. It pops into place. And we'll take the sear cam And the sear cam has this small notch on it. That notch sits right there, and the sear pin rests in there. The left-hand side of the sear pin sets in that notch. So our spring is going to fit right up to the end point on that sear cam, and then it's going to install right underneath that spring, and it'll just lay right down in that little channel right there. That's the sear block. Take our counterweight. It will go in the channel on the back strap and up through, and try to come out the top of the gun. Right in this notch right here, we're going to take our counterweight lever, place it in the hole, and then fold it over so that it sets right in there. Now at this point we're going to take our sear and our sear spring, and remember the ramped side of the sear has to sit towards the front of the gun. This also acts as the ejector because it sets at a slight angle and ports the spent casings out the side of the weapon. We'll go ahead and we'll mount our slide hold open, or our slide lockout, excuse me. Our sear cam will install right over the post on top of the sear. Just like that. We'll take our magazine spring. It's going to set in the center of the magazine holder. It's going to lay right in that channel right there. Reinstall that little spring that sits on the bottom